y'all, it is Paula with Hillbilly Orchids. Welcome back to my channel. I hope everybody's having a fantastic weekend. This should probably air Monday. I did a repotting on Middleburg Mauge on Friday, and a little girl from Tropical Plants Finland, she asked me to do a video, and I was like, sure, I could do that. I really didn't have anything planned for Monday, so I was like, that's perfect, you know. So, and I love, anytime anybody has any, requests for videos and things like that, I love it. Just leave them in the comments, and I definitely, I like, doing videos with explanations and that kind of thing. So, yeah, it's pretty cool to do, I think. So, I'll put her comment in there. She'd asked kind of like a two-part question, really. One was, when should you allow a plant to bloom and when shouldn't you? That is a really good question. And the part two was, I'm trying to think because I don't have the quote right on me. Part two was, what was part two? Size. She said that she hadn't really realized that she had been buying young plants and seedlings. And, hate to tell you guys, honestly, in the orchid world, size matters. So it really is a big deal. It is a big deal. Because I've done the same thing. I have bought plants. Most nurseries are real good about knowing the near bloom size of a plant, and they'll tell you, either it's a seedling or it's a 2 years to bloom, such thing, something like that. They usually do come up with a generalized time for bloom, which it's hard to guess. It really is, because you don't know the year prior, years prior to you getting the plant, what kind of life they lived in before they got to you, So it's hard to really tell. But let's go back to the first part. Of the comment. And she said, when should you allow a plant to bloom and when should you not? Okay. Basically, it's a really easy rule of thumb, honestly. Never, ever, ever let a plant bloom if it's got no roots. Never. No matter how much you want to see it, it can set a plant back tremendously. I have a Iwanagar apple blossom that I will say I think that it's not a healthy plant to begin with, but when I got it, it came in bloom, and I was just absolutely excited for it to bloom. I should have waited. I should have cut that bloom off, and I should have allowed her to build roots and such before I allowed it to bloom again the next year. That is exactly what I should have done, because the bloom took so much out of her. Always think of it this way: just because a plant blooms does not mean it's happy. Plants will stress bloom because they're going to die. So it is their last chance effort to spread their seed. So they're going to do that. So just because a plant blooms does not mean it's healthy. I've seen people have like fowls tied to their trees, and they've got one leaf brown, that leaf's brown as can be, or they got two leaves and one leaf's brown as can be, and they're blooming, and they're like, oh, look how happy my plants are. Honey, your plants are not happy. Sorry. They were far from happy. If a fowl's only got one leaf and it's brown and it's blooming, that plant's not happy. That plant is going to die. And there is a difference. There is definitely a difference in stress blooms and happy blooms. Okay. So basically, if you're looking at a plant, which it's with any plant, it's with phals, it's with cattleyas, what have you. Now this one here's an example. This phal, this is Chia E. Yinlin. This is a variegated type. Okay, I did recently put it into that cypress mulch, which I might regret. We'll see. Michael said his phals did not do well in it, but this one, she was in moss, and it was too much for her. I put too much moss, and it rotted her roots, and so I'm starting from square one with her again. This plant, if this plant would want to spike, if it attempts to put out a spike, and which so far it hasn't, I will not let this plant bloom. I will cut that spike back. It will hurt. It will be the hardest thing I've ever done. But this plant does not need to be blooming right now. This plant needs to work on roots. Now, she's got a good stack of leaves, but this plant needs roots. So I will not allow her to bloom. Okay? So that falls with any plant. That falls with cattleyas. That falls with dendrobiums. If you can't see good roots on that plant and it's getting ready to bloom, I would not let it bloom. Sad fact, but true. Like this dendrobium, this pink sparkle. It's got a really nice spike on it. It's really a really long, nice spike. And look at those roots. That plant is healthy enough to bloom. So I will leave it go and let it bloom. You see? So that's where the difference lies. If your plant doesn't have roots and you don't see roots, it's best to not let it bloom. This phal here, see? This phal's got roots coming out the top. It's got plenty of roots inside. So you know what? It's spiking and it's going to do just fine. This plant is going to be allowed to bloom. So that's your best rule of thumb with any plants and whether or not to let them bloom. No roots, no bloom. Okay? Just that simple. And it's safe too. And kind of with phals, like if they have an old spike and they don't have any roots, don't cut that spike. Just wait. If it starts to act like it wants to bloom, pop the buds off of the spike, but hold on to that spike. Because sometimes they'll use the nutrients from that spike to save themselves. So don't ever take anything away from them. A lot of people are like, oh, cut the spikes off, cut all the roots off, No, no, that is the furthest thing. That's one of those orchid myths. I have saved rootless Phalaenopsis because they had a old spike. And that was the only thing that helped save the plant, was that it used the nutrients from the spike and saved itself. So don't take anything from these guys. Leave everything they need where they are. And yeah, let them go with that. But guaranteed, if they've got no roots, no bloom. Just simply remember, no roots, no bloom. All right, now on to the second part. Now the second part, I might have to stop because I'm gonna tell you, it's more with Cattleya. Phalaenopsis can bloom pretty young on a plant, so they'll put out a spike when they're pretty small. As you can see, these guys. This is it is a smaller plant. This one is a smaller plant. This Smiley Prince Wilson, it's a smaller plant, and it bloomed. So smaller phals can bloom. So the next comment is more for like dendrobiums and cattleyas, more like leaning towards cattleyas. So don't don't take it to heart for phals. But when I said size matters, it does. Size definitely matters, because they will tell you whether a plant is a seedling. They will tell you if it's a year to bloom size. They'll tell you if it's 2 years to bloom size. Some nurseries will. Some places will tell you that. But if you don't know that, and say you bought a plant from eBay and you don't know that, there's ways to tell how big a plant's got to get before it's going to bloom. So hang tight and I'll grab a seedling and I'll show you against a full grown cattleya so that you can get a judgment idea of when this thing's going to bloom or when it's not. Okay, so hang tight and we'll be right back. Alrighty, we are back. Now, sometimes when you receive a cattleya, this is actually a cattleya seedling. I call it more, not like a seedling. I call it like a teenager, basically. It's not full grown, but it's not bloom size, but it's not seedling either. This is kind of like a mid-sized plant is what it is. So this is a Trianni cerulean, which is nice. This is a very, very beautiful plant once I can get it up to bloom size. But as you can see, definitely this plant is not very big at all. Okay, she is a unifoliate cattleya, and she is a species. So yeah, she is on the small side. Okay, so now I should have probably, do I got any seedling cattleyas? I do believe I do. Hang tight, I'll be right back. Now, compared to these two, okay, this is a seedling. So you see how this one's a little bit bigger. This is just a little bit bigger. Not a lot, but a little bit. She's getting there. She's got leaves that are almost as big as these. But basically, genuinely, this is a seedling. Okay? This one probably don't have it. No. Some of Better Grows have an actual deflask date, so you know when they were actually seedling. So yeah, you could go by that as well. But the thing of it is that then you bring what an adult full-size cattleya looks like to the picture. Okay? Do you see? Definitely. Huge difference. Huge difference. Yes, indeed. So that is where you get into, knowing that size makes a difference in these plants, and that gives you a general idea. This plant here is still going to be another 3 to 4 years before it's bloom size. So you just kind of, get to know that. This is a seedling. This one's going to be a good 5 years before it'll ever be close enough to bloom size. So if you get a plant that's this size, then you know it's bloom size. You know automatically, straight off the bat, it's a bloom size cattleya. So hopefully all that makes sense to y'all. It really is, like I said, it is a thing of, the size of the plant makes all the difference as to what you're actually dealing with. And these guys are not going to bloom for a while. These ones really, it'll be, 2 to 3 years on that one, 3 to 5, probably more like 5 on that one, because it's really a baby. And like I said, this one is definitely bloom size. So most of your cattleyas are generally a bigger size plant. So you know pretty well if it's big and it's not blooming, then chances are it's a light issue. So yeah, so you kind of know from that too what you can do to get them to bloom. With cattleyas, it's most always light. Most always. Without fail, if it's bloom size and it's not blooming, it's light. Most generally. So, yeah. But hopefully that gives you a little bit of a visual and explains to you a little bit more about, how the size makes a difference in the bloom size of a plant. Back over here with all these huge cattleyas of mine. I mean, look at the difference between this little seedling and all of these huge cattleyas, one day she will be this big, but right now she's not. So this plant will not bloom for a while. So, but yeah, hopefully that gives you guys a little bit more explanation. Hopefully I answered her questions good. If not, please feel free to leave it in the comments. And yep, if you know the schmeal, guys, if you could give me a thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. If you could give me a share, that would be awesome. If you could give me a super thanks, that would be highly appreciated. It goes towards my foul wall, my Hoya wall, and getting my Lily Marie a little spot to call her own. So, yep. So that's it, y'all. So with that said, I do appreciate each and every one of you beautiful, wonderful people stopping by and hanging out with me. And bye for now, y'all. Till we meet again.